With Mike from the ILWU. Mike, can you tell us the significance of this coffin and the purpose of this march today?
Yeah, the significance of the coffin was Nicholas Baudot and Howard Sperry, and I might be pronouncing it incorrectly. My pronunciation, I'm from San Francisco, so it has a little bit of a flair to it. The significance is that they shared their blood. They both got killed in the battle in 1934. And today we're remembering the importance of the 75th anniversary of the General Strike and Bloody Thursday. Back then it was a full flip, because back then the banks were going belly up, people losing their housing, unemployment, and in today's world it's happening again. And so we are trying to remember and make a memorial to our fallen brothers, and to bring in the significance to today's world. In today's world, it's happening again. A lot of people want to talk bad about unions and what unions represent, and what they represent is workers. And the workers in today's world are being blamed for the financial difficulties in the state. They're saying that unions get paid too much money. Why should that person get $15 or $18 an hour in benefits when I can hire somebody for $10 an hour in benefits? Well, the person that's getting $10 an hour, he can barely pay his mortgage, can't feed his family, can't educate his children, okay? So today's world is important to realize that unions help that, and help you get a decent wage, help you get health care for your family. They are doing nothing to hurt the working class. Corporations today are. So the significance of today is to bring all unions together and to try to reminisce on the past, because like my children's old history teacher said, we do not want history to repeat itself. And to have the significance of that, and it's coming back full circle. And unions, there was an article in the Chronicle yesterday saying that unions in 1934, it was a turning point that helped increase unions. And that's absolutely right. And in 2009, it's a turning point for unions, because unions are the balance for middle-class people in this country. And if you don't think so, look at what's going on with manufacturing jobs. Look what's going on with just regular work. Non-union, you could be a non-union job, and your standard of living is based on what unions get you. Unions are not there up and lobbying for you. There's nobody else. There's corporations lobbying, and I guarantee you they're not lobbying for the working class. So the significance on today is to come together, reminisce, and remember the importance of 1934. Because in 1934, this funeral procession is what ignited the labor movement. Because before this funeral procession, for many, many years, the maritime workers tried to organize, and they were always beaten down because the corporate and the top companies did this to them. But what this funeral procession did is it united the public, united the working class. It didn't have to be union. There was, you name it, they shut down San Francisco in the General Strike. No matter what you were, you didn't go to work because you understood what they were trying to do to you. And it just ignited the working class. Somebody said in the Examiner that there's just a shadow of unions left in the city. I guarantee you San Francisco is a union city, and we're going to continue to be union. And everybody in this country better remember that unions are not a bad thing. They're good things. Don't blame unions for the deficits in this country. It's the corporations. When you pay a CEO dollars to bury your company, millions of dollars to bury your company, but you can't give a guy a 50-cent an hour raise or take care of his health care, something's wrong. Something's very wrong. So here's solidarity, all unions. Stay positive.
Oh, one more question.
Sure.
We're going to march in front of the old headquarters at 113 Stewart Street, where these two guys were shot in the back. Can you tell us about our efforts to save that building? There's a developer who wants to tear that building down.
Yeah, well, 113 Stewart Street was the headquarters for the ILA, which was the union of the day. Today, the ILA is the ILWU, the International Warehouse Union. The significance of that is that they hired a company to do a study. They paid them $100,000 to do a study to say what was the historic significance of that building. They came back and said it had no labor history or no historic history whatsoever. It's just another way for them to want this movement to disappear, and it's not going to. The significance of that building is important because that was the headquarters of the ILA and the organizing effort to get this organization going. And we have people from all over the world here today, and it's a ripple effect. Most of our members today do not realize what the ripple effect is. What we do here today, halfway across the world, there's an effect to it. So I think we have to reflect on that. That building is vital historical building. When they develop it, it needs to be developed as an historical site, period. Thank you.
I'm with Jack Heyman from Local 10. Jack, can you tell us why unions are so important today, especially at this time of financial collapse?
Well, we're in the midst of a capitalist crisis in this country. Workers are losing their jobs, their homes, don't have adequate health care. And there's just numerous reasons why workers are being made to pay for this crisis. And it's not right. We have the power to change things, and that's through the organized labor movement, through unions. And we're out here today to commemorate what workers did 75 years ago to establish unions on the waterfront. And it took 6 longshoremen and strikers, maritime workers, dying 75 years ago to bring about what became a general strike, and then because a successful maritime strike following that to win union conditions on the waterfront. And it seems like things are going in a circle again. We're back into an economic crisis. Workers need to organize into unions. We have just a small percentage of workers in unions today, something like 8% when you get to private industry. So it's the way that workers defended their standard of living in the past, and it's the way for the future. If we organize, learn lessons from the past, that if we organize collectively to fight the bosses, to fight the employers, we can win.
Welcome to 2009 Bloody Thursday Memorial Service and the 75th anniversary of Bloody Thursday and the General Strike. We have some guest speakers, and I'll start off by announcing David Chu. He's the president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, and I'd like for you to give him a hand. He's definitely a pro-labor person.
Good morning, San Francisco. In the middle of 2009, as we watch on CNN the images of men and women fighting organized violence in places like Iran or Honduras, I think it's often that we forget that brave men and women did the exact same thing here in San Francisco in standing up for our rights. 233 years ago, we know yesterday, we celebrated Americans who shed their blood so that we would have the rights that we have today. And today, we are celebrating what happened 75 years ago on Bloody Thursday, when workers did the same. Without the longshoremen during the Great Depression, who fought for what they fought, the ILWU would not be the powerhouse that it has been and continues to be. Without the actions of bravery and courage that the workers demonstrated on Bloody Thursday and during that movement, the working conditions of workers today would not be where they are. And without the brave leadership of the Harry Bridges of that movement, the Howard Sperrys, and the Nick Bourgeois, San Francisco, I believe, would not be the progressive city that stands up for workers and for labor that it is today. So I just want to say on behalf of the elected officials here in San Francisco, we know that this city, San Francisco, was built on your backs. And we know that San Francisco continues to be maintained and built on the backs of labor here. And I want to let you know, on behalf of my colleagues at the Board of Supervisors and all of the elected officials, we have your backs.
All right. Thank you, David. And we appreciate the elected officials being here, and he's definitely a pro-labor person on the board. Chris Daly. Is Chris Daly here? Okay. If not, we're going to go to Willie Adams. He's the International Secretary-Treasurer of the Longshoremen's Union. There we go.
Hi, brothers and sisters. First of all, I'd like to say today is a very historical day. This is 75 years ago. What took place here in can you hear me now? Okay. What took place here July 5th, 1934. And that date will always live in infamy. And with mystical chords, it resonates with the martyrs, the patriots, and the rank and file, and our ancestors who that day decided they had had enough. If you look at history and you see what was happening, up until 1934, it was the crucifixion of the working class in America. But on July 5th, not only with Bloody Thursday, but also with the general strike, there was a North Star. There was a guiding light to guide workers to stand up for what was right and to have principle. Because sometimes we fail to realize that in 1934, there was a social upheaval in this country. There was a war on American workers. You did not have to get on a plane and fly 8,000 miles to go and fight against America's enemies. The legendary Bob Marley, the reggae singer, said, there was a war in the West. 7 longshoremen were killed up and down the West Coast. There was a war up north in Minneapolis, Minnesota. 16 Teamsters were killed. There was a war in the East. 10 garment workers were killed. And then there was a war down south. 8 poultry workers were killed. There was war against workers. But out of that struggle, Harry Bridges and those patriots came up, and the only thing that they were armed with that day was the right to protest, their convictions, and the guts in their stomach. Harry Bridges himself was a foreigner. But what happened that day was we went from being the ILA to the ILWU. There was a transformation in America. Everyone was looking to the West Coast. 1934, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was president. This country was on the verge of a revolution. 75 years later, Barack Obama is the president of the United States. There could also be a different type of revolution in this country. Young people are more involved. People are more engaged. People have had enough. They can't take it anymore. That's why on Bloody Thursday, when all that melee took place, when it was all said and done, and when the streets of San Francisco were filled with blood, tears ran like water, and it was just as cleansing. Because you know what happened that day? They had freedom, but after that fight, they had liberty. And there's a difference between having freedom and having liberty. But also something else happened. They brought order out of chaos that day. And they were the guiding light to what had happened. And up and down this coast in 1934, we set a precedent. I can tell you something. All those that died, there's more in those graves than just people. And today, we stand here in honor of those that came before us. This is a holy day today. This is holy ground that we stand upon. We are standing on the shoulders of the true giants, the true legendary figures, just rank and filers. And let's talk about those first 2 brothers that died, Brother Sperry and Brother Bordeaux. They were just regular guys. Walking down the street, you would never even give those guys a second glance. But they gave their life, and they died a physical death so we would not have to die a psychological death. And so today, we stand here, the rank and file, men and women from unions all in the San Francisco area, as we pay homage. As I get ready to close, I would like to leave you with something. Just can you imagine for a minute Harry Bridges and Brother Bordeaux and Brother Sperry up here? Use your historical imagination. What would they say right now? They would say the only thing you would need to do is to fear God and always proclaim in fearless tones with militancy and progressiveness to take action on behalf of workers, not only here, but throughout the world. But they also would say, we're dead now, and when you're marching down the street, and when you hear that old song that the laborer's task is over, just remember, we're gone now. It's your turn. You must leave this to your descendants. And just like July 5th, 1934, we're not here to sell our souls. We're here to save them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Willie. That was beautiful. Next is Melvin McKay, the president of the ILWU Local 10.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. This is one of the glorious days of my life today. The day is truly dedicated to 1934. This is solidarity, brothers and sisters. If it wasn't for the SUP, the Marine firemen, the carpenters, the Teamsters, Bloody Thursday here today is a great day. You know, today we still have problems here in San Francisco. We have the hotel workers, we have the horn blowers, we have people that cannot organize today. One of our most important things here, brothers and sisters, is we have to stick together and organize. I want you guys to understand one thing. Without us here today, the world will know that we're here trying to put together something for everybody else to have what we have, a union, and be able to organize and keep on going on. Thank you, brothers and sisters. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Melvin. Next is the Secretary-Treasurer of Local 10, Adam Mendez.
Hi, guys. I want to thank everybody for coming out here today. This is truly a commemoration. Today we're honoring two brothers who passed away on the streets of San Francisco in order to make today possible. The reality is, if it wasn't for those two brothers, we wouldn't be here today. And I just want to say that as we march down the Embarcadero, we keep their memories in our minds, understanding that they were martyrs for a bigger purpose. They served God's purpose that day. They showed that collective bargaining over the course of time does work. That allowed for many unions to come together to improve the conditions, their wages, the benefit to their families over time. These are important things to keep in mind as we march down the Embarcadero today. And I think it's important that we, even after today, remember nothing is possible without those great sacrifices. Everybody today may be asked to make sacrifice tomorrow. We're obviously in a time in the economy's history where we've repeated some actions similar to those that occurred in the 1930s. The 1930s were a point in time where people were at the height of despair. And what took place then, we may be reliving soon. So everybody will be asked to make sacrifices. So when you're going down the Embarcadero, consider what sacrifice you might make in order to bring about a better day for your family and the people that you confront every day on the street. Everybody deserves the same opportunity we have. So I just want you to keep that in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul from the Hall is going to give us a song, and then we're going to have a special presentation from Ian Ruskin. He's going to be playing Harry Bridges, and Heidi Davis, she'll be playing Elaine Black, which was referred to as the Red Angel. And here's Paul from the Hall, Paul Williams.
So I'll be singing the ILWU Union song. the man who made it possible, Harry Bridges. Come on and put your hands together. ILWU, ILWU, ILWU. Oh, come on, you can sing along with me. Under the hook, under the hook, under the hook, under the hook. Come on, under the hook, under the hook, under the hook, under the hook. Harry Bridges made it possible. ILWU is unstoppable. It started out in 1934 on Bloody Thursday. To be a longshoreman, you got to get dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Oh, under the hook, we got it going on. Under the hook, we got it going strong. Under the hook, here we come again. Under the hook, from Local 10, Harry Bridges made it possible. ILWU is unstoppable. It started out in 1934 on Bloody Thursday. To be a longshoreman, you got to get dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Oh, under the hook, we got it going on. Under the hook, we got it going strong. Under the hook, here we come again. Under the hook, from Local 10, Harry Bridges made it possible. ILWU is unstoppable. It started out in 1934 on Bloody Thursday. To be a longshoreman, you got to get dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Oh, let our captain, Josh, from the drill team, show you what our union is all about. Because we're stepping, 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 stepping. Step to the left, step to the right. Line up, drill team, make it tight, make it tight. Make it tight. Step to the left, step to the right. Line up, drill team, make it tight, make it tight. Make it tight. Under the hook, we got it going on. Under the hook, we got it going strong. Under the hook, here we come again. Under the hook, from Local 10. Under the hook, under the hook, under the hook, under the hook. Thank you. Put your hands together. Woo! Harry Bridges.
Thank you. Give Paul a great hand. That was beautiful. Very nice. Very nice. After the presentation from Harry, and I'm going to refer to him as Harry Bridges and Elaine Black, he will give some instructions, and as a union we're going to march and line up together out on Stewart Street. Later on, if anybody is after our memorial service, they're going to have something going on at the Hyatt, and if you want to go over there and support them in unity and solidarity, I think it's very important. It's one of the only non-union hotels at the wharf, and we need to, after our services, maybe to go over and give them a little bit of support. So thank you very much. And here we go. Harry Bridges and Elaine Black.
Well, brothers and sisters, my name is Harry Bridges, and I am the chairman of the San Francisco Strike Committee. And we are here today on July 9th, 1934, to honour two comrades and to remember what happened 4 days ago on Bloody Thursday in these streets and on these sidewalks. From the top of Rincon Hill down into the gutters of Mission Street and Stewart Street and Spear Street, this whole city was a war zone. And why? because we're out on strike. And who are we? We are the workers on the docks and on the ships. And what do we want from being out on strike? Why are we on strike? We want a pay raise, a 6-hour day, a coast-wide contract, and worker control of the hiring hall. But more than that, after all the years of corruption, the years of the shape-up, where the only way to get a job was through kickbacks and bribes and favours, the years of being treated like a rat, to scurry around up and down the Embarcadero looking for some crumbs of work. Well, after all that, we are demanding some human dignity. Unfortunately, the ship owners don't have any interest in any of that. Neither does the governor, or the mayor, or the chief of police, or the newspapers. So, 4 days ago, July 5th, 1934, American workers were facing thousands of police armed with pistols and those long nightsticks that can crack open a skull with one swing, and tear gas grenades and riot guns and shells. And over 400 men were shot or beaten or gassed or jailed. Women and children were gassed. Innocent bystanders were shot and beaten just because they happened to be there. I'd like to read to you from a local paper the next day. San Francisco's broad Embarcadero ran red with blood. And in the hospitals, the colour-stained clothing, sheets, human flesh. Drip, drip, drip went the blood on the white tiled floor. Steadily, human blood as bright as red begonias in the sun. And badly wounded strikers lying on a San Francisco sidewalk as a thin trickle of crimson crawls towards the curb. So, at Mission and Stewart, just over there, after the police had pushed us back off the waterfront, a police car arrived.
My name is Elaine Black. I work with the International Labor Defense. And we work with young workers who are beaten, arrested, and thrown in jail. It is hard and dangerous work, but when you see what has to be done, it's easy to do. I spend most of my time, in truth, at the Hall of Justice with a couple of $1,000s in my purse, bailing out workers. And I've now come to be known as the Red Angel. This is because when you're thrown in jail, anyone who comes to bail you out pretty much looks like an angel. And I certainly am a red one. On July 5th, I was at strike headquarters over at 113 Stewart near Mission. In fact, ironically, we were talking about how to deal with police attacks. I left there to go to meet Nick, my friend and fellow ILD member. As I stepped out onto the street, that's when I saw the white clouds of tear gas and I could hear the bullets. Charles Olson was lucky. He was a longshoreman and he was shot at Mission and Stewart in the arm, in the chest, and in the face, and he lived. Howard Speary, a striking sailor who was working over at the Union Relief Kitchen at Embarcadero and Mission, was on his way to strike headquarters to have his strike card punched. In fact, he was coming there just as I was leaving. We probably passed each other on the sidewalk. He was shot also at Mission and Stewart in the back, and he died before he got to the hospital. Another man was also working at the Union Kitchen, and he was also shot in the back. He crawled to Mission and Spear, which is only about a block and a half from where we are standing now, and that is where he died. I got a call to go to identify this man at the morgue, and I said I couldn't go because I was to meet Nick, but I was told I had to go. So I went. Now, I have seen men shot, I have seen legs broken, I have seen heads cracked, but I had never seen a dead body before. And this body was clean and white and no marks on it except for one in his back, a bullet hole, and it was Nick. Nick Bordoisi, who I was supposed to meet, but not like this. I was not to meet him on a slab.
The policeman who killed both the men was described as like a man shooting birds, except they weren't birds, they were men. They were an unemployed cook and a striking sailor. They were men just like all the men standing here. And at the end of that bloody day, who was marching into San Francisco? 6,000 National Guard, young, fresh-faced kids with big, heavy machine guns. And those fresh-faced kids, they set up machine gun nests at the end of every pier on the Embarcadero with orders to shoot, to kill. And the ship owners, they said the strike was over. It was all over. They had won. But we are just beginning. We're here today to honour Howard Speary and Nick Bordoisi. We're here to make sure that they will always be remembered, to make sure they will never be forgotten.
In life, they wouldn't have commanded a second look on the streets of San Francisco. In death, they will be born in a stupendous and reverent procession that will astound the city.
And so, brothers and sisters, we ask you to join us as we follow the coffins, escorted by the drill team, up the Embarcadero. And when we march up the Embarcadero, remember those machine gun nests that were at the end of every pier. And remember the tear gas and the shootings and the clubbings that followed us everywhere we went that day. But today is our day. And the police know that today is our day. And if there is any policing to be done, it'll be done by us. So we ask you to follow us in silence and in solidarity with the San Francisco labor movement, and in solidarity with every worker who has ever struggled for some human dignity on the job and in his life. And we ask you to follow us in solidarity and in silence.
Stop in your tracks, you passerby. Uncover your doubting head. The working men are on their way to bury their murdered dead.
So, drill team, please take your places. And drummers, please be ready to lead us. And now we're going to go down and stand behind the trucks, and let us in silence and solidarity march.
I know if they do try to do that, it's going to hit the fan. No, I didn't think so.
Wobblies, wobblies. You got it, brother. Any procedure that he has to have done, they have to wait for that.
anyway, I had something inside of me. That's what caused me to write a book. But I wrote about the Alcatraz Indian movement. And during the 30s, I played in the Blackfeet Indian Band. There's a 20-piece Indian band. We traveled around all over around the county and went back to Chicago, this and that. But that was before the Second World War. So when the war came along, and that kind of knocked all over. Everybody got a draft card, you know, so kind of knocked our music out of place. But I like a longshoreman. Longshoremen were power. I like to work on the waterfront. I like to work on the ship. I didn't care too much about working on the docks, but I worked on it as a longshoreman. And we always had, of course, since the strikes, now, I've been on every strike. 48 strike, and there was 46 strike, and there was a strikes on down the line. But I loved of course, we had to fight for everything. Nobody gave us nothing. We had to go out, put a picket line on them, on the ship owners, to get a goddamn thing. These guys wouldn't even get up nothing. So we showed them our power. And the long term. And you know what you gotta do? You gotta sacrifice. Because you ain't gonna be working. You ain't gonna be earning anything. So you gotta sacrifice for a strike. A lot of guys don't like to go to a strike. They want to think out, think out, run the ship, but I don't like that. No, mine is strictly business. We want rules. We had to even put a safety net under the goddamn gangway. You had to go on strike. Imagine that. Safety net. Well, I didn't break it, but I twisted it. And I lost my job. I got to crawl out of the ship. And the guy didn't even have a basket for me to get out of the goddamn ship. And then I walked down. I could walk a little bit down the gangway. And then I asked him for a slip to maybe go to his doctor, the company doctor. You know what he said? Go home and soak it. Yeah, and he says, then you come back after you feel better. That's the kind of hospitalization they used to have. Go home and soak your foot. So, if White sent a nice little, hospital, and even here in San Francisco, when you got hurt, we used to go to the emergency. Yeah, up and down the water. Some guys get their hands hurt. And then we started, and Kaiser started. But Kaiser had a little hole in the wall up in the railroad building up there on Market Street.